For every fight, she had a ritual, tearing their marriage certificate to shreds. The first time, he paid her $20,000 to go on vacation. The 10th time, he bought her a Porsche. The 50th, he signed over their villa. But the 99th time was different. This time, he saw the fresh kiss mark on her collarbone, a mark he didn't leave. And in that moment, after years of catering to her every whim, something inside him finally snapped. This is the story of a man who gave everything, and what happened when he decided to take it all back. Every time we fought, my wife would tear up our marriage certificate. She'd force me to offer a lavish apology just to coax her back to City Hall to get a replacement. The first time, I transferred $20,000 to her account. She took her brother on a trip to Sonia. The 10th time, I bought her a Porsche. She took her brother for a joyride. The 50th time, I knelt and signed over our villa to her. She and her brother had a candlelight dinner there. And the 99th time, as she pressured me to sign over my company's shares, I stared at the hickey on her collarbone and suddenly smiled. Then, I burned all the paperwork for a replacement certificate and boarded a flight for an overseas business expansion. I was done with her. For good. The first time I met Claire Lynn was on a torrential evening. I had just finished a 10-hour business negotiation, my suit soaked through by the rain. As I walked into the hotel lobby, a girl in a champagne-colored evening gown was arguing with the front desk staff. I said, "I want the presidential suite," she exclaimed, slapping the marble countertop, her Cartier bracelet jingling. "I'm sorry, miss. The last one was just booked." Seeing her delicate, tear-streaked face, I acted on impulse and offered her my key card. "You can have mine." She turned her head, raindrops still clinging to her eyelashes. "Why?" she asked. "You look like you need to rest more than I do," I said honestly. Her eyes were as red as a rabbit's. She had clearly been crying. When she took the key card, her fingernail lightly grazed my palm. "Claire Lynn, remember my name. You'll see me again." 3 days later, I saw her again outside my office building. She was in a white dress, holding a bouquet of sunflowers. "Julian G., right? I'm here to repay you for the room." I later learned she had spent those 3 days checking the guest lists of every 5-star hotel in the city. That bouquet was worth over $2,300 more than the room rate. Claire swept into my life like a meticulously planned hurricane. On the 7th day we knew each other, she took me street racing until 3 in the morning. On the 15th day, she got drunk and drew hearts all over my apartment's bathroom mirror with her lipstick. On the 21st day, she showed up at my office in a wedding dress. "Marry me," she said, standing on the conference table, her dress sweeping over the financial reports. "Or I'll jump." My colleagues roared with laughter and applauded. "All right," I said, getting down on one knee and using the pull tab from a soda can as a ring. The day we registered our marriage, she was unusually quiet. When the photographer told her to smile, she suddenly burst into tears. As the official stamp came down, she whispered in my ear, "Julian, you have to spoil me like this forever." I kissed her trembling eyelashes. "I will." We had 99 tables at our wedding reception, because she loved the symbolism of forever. That night, she danced alone on the stage in her custom gown, a tireless butterfly. No one noticed the way her brother, Alex, looked at her. It wasn't the way a brother should look at his sister. 3 months into our marriage, Claire tore up our marriage certificate for the first time. I came home early that day to find her in the walk-in closet, trying on a diamond necklace I had never seen before. A dozen luxury brand boxes were scattered on her vanity, with a receipt on top showing a total of $368,000. "New purchase?" I asked, picking up the receipt. She didn't even turn around. "I used your card." The company was in a critical financing stage, and this was not a small sum. I tried to be gentle. "Next time you make a large purchase, can we discuss it first?" The hand unfastening the necklace froze. "Discuss it." She spun around, the necklace catching in her hair and snapping. "Julian, what did you promise me when you were pursuing me?" Before I could answer, she pulled the marriage certificate from her purse and ripped it in half right in front of me. "I'm done with this," she said, the pieces fluttering onto my leather shoes. "I'm going to Sonia right now." 3 hours later, I received a location notification from the airport. The photo showed her in sunglasses, the flight information for Sonia in the background. The caption read, "First class is so comfortable." In the reflection of her sunglasses, I could vaguely make out Alex's silhouette. I made 37 calls, all of which were rejected. Finally, after I transferred $200,000 to her account, she changed her flight and came back. "Don't you ever raise your voice at me again," she said over the phone, the sound of a champagne bottle popping in the background. I waited for her at the airport until 2 in the morning. When she appeared, she was wearing a new dress and a new necklace, even more expensive than the last one. The 10th time she tore the certificate was on our first wedding anniversary. I had cleared my schedule and personally cooked her favorite French dinner. In the center of the table was a Tiffany blue box containing a pair of custom wedding rings, engraved with C and J. "What about the old ones?" she asked. "You said the style was outdated." She suddenly stood up, knocking the ring box to the floor. Only then did I notice her eyes were red and swollen. "What's wrong?" "Alex got expelled from school." The Alex she mentioned was her brother, 8 years younger than me and a junior in college. For fighting? I asked, bending down to pick up the rings. They framed him for stealing a laptop. She stabbed the steak knife into her steak, juices splattering the tablecloth. You have to help him. I frowned. I had just seen Alex last week. The Rolex on his wrist was clearly not something a student could afford. Let's eat first. I'll contact the school tomorrow. Crash. She flipped the entire dining table. The candles fell into the spilled red wine, flames flaring up before dying out. Now. Immediately. Right now. She pulled the marriage certificate from her purse and tore it to shreds. Or we get a divorce. 3 days later, Alex drove his brand new Porsche back to school to receive an apology. That day, I came home early to grab a file and saw the Porsche parked in my garage. The window was slightly ajar, and I could hear Claire's laughter and another sound coming from inside. I stood by the car until my nails dug into my palms. Suddenly, the window rolled down and Claire leaned out. What are you doing standing here? Alex is just showing me the new car's features. In the back seat, Alex grinned at me, his fingers twirling a lock of Claire's hair. The 50th time she tore the certificate was in front of my most important client. The Yamamoto Group from Japan was here to discuss an acquisition that could triple my company's valuation. I took them to the best kaiseki restaurant in the city, and Claire insisted on coming. And this is? Mr. Yamamoto asked. My wife, I introduced her. Claire was unusually quiet, playing the part of a graceful spouse. Until the third course arrived. She suddenly spoke up. Mr. Yamamoto, have you ever seen what a Chinese marriage certificate looks like? Without waiting for an answer, she pulled our certificate from her Hermes bag and, in front of everyone, ripped it into pieces. It looks like this, she said, scattering the shreds over the sashimi platter. I can tear it up whenever I feel like it. The private room fell silent. A pink fragment of the certificate landed on a piece of fatty tuna, an utterly inappropriate garnish. Claire, I hissed. She leaned close to my ear. I put the villa transfer agreement in your briefcase. Sign it now. That night, I knelt in the living room and signed the papers. When I looked up, I saw the dining table set for a candlelight dinner for two. The red wine Claire and Alex were toasting with was a 1982 Lafite from my collection. The 99th time. I stood in my study, looking at the 98 neatly repaired marriage certificates in the safe. Each one a replacement. Each one a record of my humiliation. The sound of shattering glass came from the living room. Today, she had thrown our custom wedding rings, the ones engraved with forever. Is the share transfer agreement signed yet? She leaned against the doorframe, a fresh hickey on her collarbone, so perfectly formed it looked like a stamp. I stared at the mark. I had just returned from a business trip this morning. Alex had just left our house, claiming he was picking up a scarf his sister had left at his place. Claire, I asked softly, is Alex your brother, or is he your lover? The expression on her face froze for a second before she grabbed a crystal glass and threw it at me. Blood, hot and metallic, started trickling from my temple. You've been investigating me? Her voice was as sharp as the shattered glass on the floor. I laughed. How ridiculous. For the past 6 years, I actually thought she was just spoiled, that it was just a princess complex. Last year, you said you wanted to open a beauty salon. I gave you $300,000. Last month, you said Alex needed a security deposit to study abroad. I transferred $80,000. Blood dripped onto the carpet. That money was for his sports car, wasn't it? Her fingers, tipped with red nail polish, began to tremble. So what if it was? Alex is only 22. He's way more interesting than a boring workaholic like you. Lightning flashed outside, just like on the day we got our marriage license. I suddenly remembered what she said then. Julian, you have to spoil me for a lifetime. It turned out her lifetime was only as long as 99 tantrums. The blood trickled down from my temple, staining the carpet a dark shade. Claire stood against the light, the hickey on her collarbone a brand of shame that stung my eyes. I didn't say another word. I silently wiped the blood from my temple with the back of my hand and turned to leave. Julian, are you trying to start another fight with me? Claire shrieked behind me. I flinched and turned back. Her eyes were wide with fury, staring at me viciously. In her hand, she held the brand new marriage certificate I had just replaced, poised to tear it again. I counted silently in my head. 100. This time, I felt no panic. I didn't rush to stop her. I just stood there, coldly waiting for her to repeat her old trick. But Claire froze. She seemed stunned by my calm reaction, her hand holding the certificate suspended in midair as she stared at me, dumbfounded. You're not going to stop me. I spoke coolly. Tear it if you want. I won't be getting another one. If you want to make our future divorce more complicated, go right ahead. A crack appeared on Claire's beautiful face. Julian, are you really going to divorce me over such a small thing? With that, she tossed the certificate aside and stormed towards me. She didn't tear it this time. It dawned on me then. Every time she had a meltdown, every time she was unreasonable, she was testing my limits. I used to be so afraid of losing her that I indulged her again and again, letting my self-respect be shattered. Now that I no longer cared, she stopped. I looked at her calmly. I think we need to spend some time apart to cool down. With that, I turned and walked away without a second glance. Claire roared behind me. It's just this little thing. Julian, You'll regret this. My feet kept moving forward, never pausing. Even though my heart felt like a piece of it had been gouged out, bleeding profusely. I knew if I turned back, if I compromised again, I would fall right back into the same cycle. Endless money spent on her, and endless trips to City Hall for new marriage certificates. I was just tired. I started sleeping at the office. Even my employees noticed something was wrong, and a heavy atmosphere settled over the company. To lift everyone's spirits, I organized a company retreat at a hot spring resort. Seeing the excited and happy looks on everyone's faces improved my mood slightly. It turned out that when you spend money in a worthwhile way, people actually appreciate it. As I was sitting aside, sipping tea, a shadow fell over me. I looked up. It was Alex, looking at me with a smug expression. Brother-in-law? What a coincidence. You're here for the hot springs too. Before I could answer, Alex sat down next to me and poured himself a cup of my expensive tea. As he raised his hand, I saw a limited edition Rolex on his wrist. I remembered that watch. I'd seen it in a box in the corner while tidying up a while back. My birthday was coming up, and I thought it was a surprise from Claire. I'm usually quite frugal with myself, hesitant to buy things I like, so I had been looking forward to it. But on my birthday, all I got was a small cake with a corner missing. Claire had said nonchalantly. Oh, Alex came by earlier and was hungry, so he had a bite. You don't mind, do you? I felt like I'd swallowed a fly. While I didn't make a scene, I never touched a bite of that cake. So, the gift I thought was for me had been on someone else's wrist all along. Brother-in-law, I heard you and my sister had a fight. Women shouldn't be so petty. My sister is just a bit willful, a bit of a big spender. You make so much money. What's the big deal if she spends a little more? Alex rambled on, the Rolex on his wrist flashing as he moved. You have to realize, if you get divorced now, where are you going to find a wife as beautiful as her? It was true I made good money, but that was from late nights and high-pressure projects I negotiated myself. Most of my fights with Claire were because of him, yet he was like a piece of sticky, sweet rot, completely oblivious. And even if I did divorce Claire, with my qualifications, why wouldn't I be able to find someone better? I snatched the teacup from his lips and slammed it on the ground. Let's get something straight. First, my money doesn't grow on trees. I don't mind her spending it on herself, but you know better than I do where my money is really going. I'm not an idiot, and I don't have extra cash to waste on some parasite who doesn't even know his place. Second, you know exactly why your sister and I are fighting. Are you here to mediate or to stir up more trouble? You know the answer. And third, my tea is expensive. You're not worthy of it. Alex's face darkened instantly. He shot to his feet and pointed a finger at my nose, cursing. You're just some old man with a bit of dirty money. What gives you the right to look down on me? My sister spends her money on me because she wants to. What right do you have to be angry with me? So what if I'm an illegitimate son? I was accepted by the Lin family. Go on, divorce my sister. Let's see who'll want an old man like you then. It's young guys like us who are in demand. I frowned. I hadn't had much contact with Alex. In our previous meetings, he always sat quietly on the side. Now I saw that was just an act. Just as I was about to retort, Alex seemed to see something, and his demeanor changed completely. He suddenly looked pitiful, his eyes welling up with tears, and he dropped to his knees in front of me. Brother-in-law, I know my presence has disturbed you and my sister. Please don't blame her. Take your anger out on me. Just please don't divorce her. She still loves you very much. I was wondering why Alex had such a sudden change of heart when an angry voice came from behind me. Julian, have you no shame? I thought you were so tough, running away from home after a fight. Now you're picking on Alex? I was so wrong about you. Claire rushed over, helped Alex to his feet, and said gently, don't kneel to someone like him. He's not worth it. I'll back you up, no matter what. Alex kept his head down, acting as if he wouldn't get up until I forgave him, and said weakly, Sis, if my existence is affecting you and your husband, then I'll just stop seeing you. I really don't want to make things difficult for you. Hearing this, Claire grew even more furious, glaring at me. Take it out on me. Don't drag innocent people into this. If you were a good husband and focused on your family, would I even fight with you? Now, apologize to Alex immediately, and I might consider not divorcing you. I had to laugh. I had put too much faith in Claire. I thought she wasn't blind, that she could see through Alex's clumsy acting. But it was a pity. In Claire's eyes, there was only Alex. I was the one who had finally had enough and wanted a divorce, yet she acted as if the decision was hers to make. Alex immediately grabbed Claire's hand. Sis, don't be impulsive. I think brother-in-law didn't mean it. He just loves you too much. Then he looked at me, pleading, Brother-in-law, as long as you stop being angry with my sister and live a good life with her, I promise I will never appear again. His voice grew quieter, eventually turning into a choked sob. As long as my sister is happy, I can just disappear. What a performance of feigned reluctance and pitiable innocence. Even though I had already seen Alex's true colors, his words still struck a chord. As expected, Claire started to sob too, and right in front of me, she pulled Alex into her arms. Shoo, even if I have to give up the whole world, I will never give you up. Even if Claire and Alex were truly siblings, this scene was unsettling enough, let alone the fact that I had just received the results of my investigation. Alex and Claire had no blood relation at all. Claire looked at me, her eyes blazing with fire. Julian, do you find it amusing to hurt a child like this? This isn't about a simple apology anymore. I want you to transfer all your company shares to Alex. Otherwise, I will never forgive you. We're getting a divorce. I then noticed that a crowd had gathered to watch the spectacle, including my own employees, who were looking at me nervously. I let out a sneer. In the past, when Claire threatened me with divorce, I might have agreed to all her demands. But ever since I saw the hickey on her neck that wasn't mine, our 6 years of affection had vanished into thin air. I slowly raised my head. A divorce, you say? Claire, completely oblivious to my resolve, was still trying to use my weakness to threaten me, staring at me defiantly. That's right. If you don't transfer the shares to Alex to secure his future, then we're getting a divorce. Fine. Let's get a divorce. I knew you would. Wait, what did you say? Claire looked at me in disbelief, as if I had gone off script. By all rights, I should be obeying her every command. But now, my simple 2 words, let's divorce, had sent her into a panic. No, that's not. I was just saying that. Why are you taking it so seriously? Claire's demeanor changed in an instant. But for the first time, I realized that saying the word divorce didn't bring pain, only relief. I would never have to clean up Claire's messes again, nor would I have to find ways to replace our marriage certificate after she tore it up time and time again. I can still remember the look the staff at City Hall used to give me, like I was some kind of fool. I gave a faint smile. It doesn't matter what your relationship is anymore, I don't care. Since you care so much about Alex, you two can have a life together. The one who should be leaving was me all along. With that, I turned and walked away. A perfectly good company retreat, ruined by this pair of siblings. After returning, I hired a moving company and cleared out all of my things. It wasn't an act of charity, leaving the house to Claire. I just couldn't bear to live there anymore. The entire house was decorated to her taste, every corner filled with traces of our life together. More accurately, just being there reminded me of Claire's irrational tantrums, of the shattered pieces of my heart she had trampled underfoot. Within half an hour, my things were gone. Claire hadn't returned yet. It was for the best, avoiding a confrontation where she'd cling and plead, only adding to my frustration. I quickly found a new apartment. After a day of unpacking, I was tired. I got out of the shower and saw over 80 missed calls on my phone, all from Claire. There were also countless text messages. Julian, where did you go? Are you serious? I was just trying to test your love for me, and you're really going to divorce me? Alex is family too. Why can't I give the company to him? Is this what you call loving me? Honey, I was wrong, okay? Please come back. I'm scared of being alone in the dark. Her tone softened with each message, but the earlier, sharper words were undoubtedly her true feelings. She wasn't sorry. She was scared. I didn't reply. I just blocked and deleted her number. Since I had decided on a divorce, there was no turning back. My assistant called. I had to go on a business trip, and I realized I'd forgotten to grab my ID and passport when I moved. Time was tight, and I really didn't want to go back. But circumstances forced my hand, so I drove to the old apartment building. The lights were on. In the past, whenever I came home and saw the light on in the balcony, I felt a sense of peace. Just knowing someone was waiting for me at home always warmed my heart. When did I start dreading coming home early, dreading returning to that so-called home? Thinking back now, my heart had started to waver long ago. I was tired and fed up. It was responsibility and my love for Claire that made me endure it time and again, pushing through the trauma and refusing to let go. I hesitated downstairs for a moment before finally going up. The moment I opened the door, I saw Claire curled up in Alex's arms. Their posture was intimate, making me feel like the intruder. Even though I was prepared for a divorce, the sight still stung. Hearing the door open, Claire immediately sat up, her face lighting up with joy, completely oblivious to how inappropriate her actions were. Julian, you're back? I knew you couldn't bear to divorce me. Claire ran towards me and threw herself into my arms. I felt an instinctive wave of nausea and pushed her away. I just forgot my documents. Claire froze on the spot, but Alex lunged at me, swinging his fist. I sidestepped the punch. Alex's eyes were burning with rage. Julian, don't be so ungrateful. My sister has been crying for a whole day waiting for you. What is your heart made of? You can hate me, target me, even take your anger out on me. I won't complain. But you shouldn't betray my sister's love. Claire stood to the side, weeping, looking like the victim of some great injustice, as if I were the one who had betrayed our relationship and deserved to be condemned. I scoffed. You're acting all righteous now. When you were leeching off your sister like a vampire, did you ever consider how your actions would affect our family and our relationship? Whose fault is it that we've reached this point? You know damn well. Alex and Claire were both stunned into silence, staring at me in astonishment. In that moment, I suddenly felt a sense of release. So this is you waiting for me, trying to win me back? I've been gone for one day, and you bring him into our home at night. Very good. I gave Claire a scornful look. She panicked. No, that's not it. Let me explain. I was just scared of being alone. I ignored her and went to the study to retrieve all my documents. As I was about to leave, I turned back. My lawyer will send over the divorce papers tomorrow. I hope you don't drag this out. Even if you refuse, I'll file a suit with the court. And even if I lose, I can just live separately from you for 2 years and get an automatic divorce. I have plenty of time. But you. My gaze shifted to Alex. Even if I can wait, your lover brother probably can't. With that, I turned and left. Alex was not Claire's illegitimate half-brother, as she claimed. Years ago, Claire's father had a one-night stand. The mistress gave birth to Alex and raised him until she died of a serious illness. Alex then went to the Lynn family, told them his story, and they took him in without even doing a paternity test. They gave him a new name and even announced his identity to the public. But Claire's mother had doubts. She secretly had a DNA test done and discovered Alex had no blood relation to the Lynn family at all. But the public statement had already been made, and to retract it would be a slap in their own face. So, to the outside world, the Lynn family maintained that Alex was their son. As for when Claire found out, I don't know. Perhaps she knew all along and was hiding it from me, too. When my assistant presented me with the results of the investigation, I just felt a wave of disgust. For the first time, a business trip felt incredibly smooth. When negotiating with clients, I no longer had to worry about Claire suddenly causing a scene or having to rush back mid-negotiation to deal with her messes. However, after the deal was done and we got in the car, my assistant looked at his phone with a grim expression. Mr. G, there's a problem. My heart skipped a beat as I took the phone. It was a video. On screen, Claire's eyes were red-rimmed, tears rolling down her cheeks. My husband wants to divorce me because he's unwilling to help my brother. I know I shouldn't ask for too much, but he promised he would take care of my family's problems. I've been married to him for 6 years, walking on eggshells every day, so afraid he would change his mind. I never thought. Halfway through, Claire broke down in sobs. Alex took over for her. I admit I'm young and not capable. I was being bullied at school and just wanted my brother-in-law to back me up, but he told me to solve my own problems and even threatened to divorce my sister. The comment section was filled with attacks against me. What kind of scumbag is this? Once you're married, isn't your wife's family your family? Businessmen only care about profits. His own brother-in-law is in trouble. What's the big deal with helping him out? He's supposed to be a big boss? I'd say his character is flawed, and his company won't last long. My assistant continued. The video is trending, and our stock has started to fall. My company had only recently gone public, and I had signed a crucial investment deal with a high-stakes valuation clause. Claire's stunt would definitely impact my company. I had originally wanted an amicable divorce, but I never thought Claire would stoop to such tactics. I sneered inwardly. This idea of using public opinion was definitely something Alex came up with. If they wanted to play dirty, then they shouldn't blame me for fighting back. Book the earliest flight back, I told my assistant. He immediately started booking tickets. We didn't even go back to the hotel, we went straight to the airport. On the plane, I kept thinking, when did Claire become like this? Greedy, selfish. In 6 years of marriage, I had somehow failed to see it. But then again, maybe she was always this person, and my love for her had just put a filter over my eyes. When I first met her, she couldn't afford it but insisted on staying in the presidential suite. Perhaps she was always vain, and I had forgotten. My initial good impression of her had clouded my judgment. When the plane landed and I arrived at my company building, a crowd had gathered at the entrance. People were throwing vegetable leaves and eggs at the building. Red paint on the wall spelled out vicious curses. Heartless businessman, get out. Go to hell, you cheating scumbag. My eyes turned cold. Just then, a message arrived from Alex. Brother-in-law, if you don't want to go bankrupt because of public opinion, you'd better be a good husband to my sister and agree to her demand to transfer your company shares to me. Otherwise, you'll be left with nothing. I looked down at my phone, finding it laughable. I took a screenshot of the message and turned to my assistant. Compile all the evidence. Post an official statement on our website. Then call the police and file a lawsuit against every single person who posted malicious comments. My assistant nodded and hurried into the building. The atmosphere in the office was oppressive. Many employees were sighing with frustration. Some said their families back home were being gossiped about, and a few had already resigned under the pressure. This was all my fault, and of course, I would take responsibility. For those who insisted on leaving, I paid their full salary plus a severance package. For those who were willing to stay, I gave everyone a raise. While I was handling paperwork, Claire walked in, her high heels clicking on the floor. I hadn't seen her in half a month, yet she looked radiant. Her makeup so perfect she seemed to have just come from a salon. I told you you'd regret this. It's not too late to beg me now. I looked up at Claire. The truth was, she didn't love me. Her family had gone bankrupt long ago. It was only after she married me that her parents moved back into a villa, drove luxury cars, and even started a small company again with my help. As for Alex, he went from a self-conscious, illegitimate son to a profligate rich kid. I cleaned up his messes, and when he needed money, she handed him my supplementary card. I had done right by her for 6 years of marriage, yet she had forgotten that everything she had came from me. She always assumed my love for her gave her a license to squander my affection. Her visit today was merely to gloat about her victory in using public opinion to bend me to her will. I gave a cold smile. In your dreams. Claire gritted her teeth. You're still being stubborn? Let's see if you can still smile when you have nothing left. I put down my work and stared at her calmly. Have you signed the divorce papers? Claire was taken aback for a moment. Then her anger turned into a smirk. I see you won't give up until you're faced with the grim reality. Still thinking about getting me to sign at a time like this. I opened a drawer and took out another set of divorce papers. I knew Claire was greedy. The first agreement I gave her would have let her walk away with half of my assets. I knew she wouldn't sign it, so I had prepared a second one. Since you didn't sign that one, sign this one. I pushed the papers towards her. Claire took them, and a crack appeared on her composed face. Julian, are you insane? You expect me to leave with nothing? I wouldn't even sign when you offered me half your assets. What makes you think I'll sign this? I unhurriedly pushed a pen towards her, my voice devoid of any emotion. You will. She stared at me as if I were a fool, then settled into a sofa, her long nails tapping impatiently on the table. Let's see what ace you have up your sleeve that could possibly make me sign this willingly. A moment later, my assistant came in. Mr. G. He glanced at Claire with a strange look. I gestured for him to continue. I've done as you instructed. The new post is already getting more traction than their video. I nodded. The assistant left, and Claire looked at me, bewildered. What did you do? I pushed my laptop towards Claire. The blue light from the screen made her face look ashen. Julian, you dared to investigate me? On the company's official website statement, there was not only a screenshot proving Alex wasn't a Lynn family member and detailed bank records, but also high-definition photos of her and Alex kissing in the garage. At the very bottom was a police notice. After investigation, Claire Lynn and Alex Lynn are suspected of fabricating false information to disrupt public order and will be subject to 10 days of administrative detention. I gently pushed a fountain pen across the desk. I didn't investigate. You handed me the evidence yourself. Every time you used the supplementary card for Alex's expenses and transfers, you must have forgotten that I have text message alerts activated. She shot her head up, a flash of panic in her eyes. Illegal transfer of marital assets, fabricating family relations to spread rumors, and adultery with a third party. I tapped a finger on the screen. Any one of these is enough for you to leave with nothing. Sign the agreement now, and I can choose not to press these charges. The pen trembled in her palm. The ink blotched at the end of her signature, a dark fog mirroring her twisted expression. You're ruthless. She slammed the pen on the table, the metal cap rolling onto the floor. When you were on your knees begging for my affection, I don't remember you being this cold-blooded. I looked at her reddened eyes and suddenly remembered how she looked crying in the rain 6 years ago. The raindrops on her eyelashes then were real, and the venom in her eyes now was real, too. I gave you 99 chances, I said, standing up to organize my files. On the 100th, it was my turn to walk away. With that, I waved my hand, and my assistant came in and escorted Claire out. The company's crisis was averted. The people who had cyberbullied me and my company all faced legal consequences. I looked out the floor-to-ceiling window. The heartless businessman graffiti had been washed clean, and sunlight was streaming through the glass, casting a bright patch on my desk. As for Alex, all the luxury goods and cars in his name were repossessed by me. I am no philanthropist. The money I spent on Claire, I could let go, but others didn't deserve it. 3 months later, without my support and guidance, Claire's father's company went bankrupt again. He had long since developed a gambling addiction, and without a source of income, he lost everything he could. In just 3 months, their standard of living plummeted, far worse than when Claire was married to me. Money can make a person, and it can also destroy one. Perhaps this was karma. They thought they could do whatever they wanted with me as their backer. As for Alex, he had made many enemies by flaunting my influence. Now that the whole world knew about his and Claire's sordid affair, and that she and I were divorced, the tables had turned. The same way Alex had once humiliated others, others now humiliated him. Unable to bear the fall from grace, Alex violently attacked several people who had mocked him in a public place. He was now facing at least 20 years in prison. And the Lynn family, for their failure to raise him properly, faced enormous civil claims for compensation. Of course, they didn't want to pay. But unfortunately for them, one of the victims' families had some shady connections and sent tattooed debt collectors to their home. Harassed constantly, Claire tried calling me for help. Can you, for the sake of our past, lend me $5 million for this emergency? I sneered, hung up the phone, and blocked her number. What past affection? The affection of her cheating on me. The next time I saw Claire, she was wearing faded jeans and a waitress's uniform. I was having dinner with a client and saw her in the hallway. Claire instinctively lowered her head. I pretended not to see her and walked straight ahead, but I felt a tug on the corner of my jacket. I turned back. Claire's eyes were red. Julian, I know I was wrong. Can you give me another chance? Back then, Claire's apologies were likely driven by the fear of losing everything after leaving me. But now, her regret probably contained a hint of sincerity. In other words, if she were still living a life of luxury, not having to work to pay off her father's debts, she would still be her same selfish, arrogant self. I said I want the presidential suite. I pulled the corner of my jacket from her grasp. I'm sorry, miss. Who are you? Claire's body stiffened. She looked at me in disbelief. I smiled. I think it's better if we remain strangers. I once treasured Claire as if she were a precious gem, but she didn't cherish it. Now, her attempt to rekindle my old feelings for her was just a sign of how highly she still thought of herself. Seeing that she was speechless, I walked right past her. Some things, and some people, are in the past. I still have a future. Whether it was painful or beautiful, I have to move forward.